did that one?
That was on. Oh, by the way, I heard Bill Gates talking today. You know who he sounds like on the radio? Rick Moranis. He's smarmy.
Smart and charming.
Right.
The Wade and Carter Show is a paid programming, and KHMC
Hello, YouTubers.
assumes no responsibility for its content, and the Wade and Carter Show bears all responsibilities for their opinions and guests on their show. Now, before we do this, let's go over the
Everything's plugged in, the knobs are right.
I don't know if you're right.
Rule number 1. No touching of the hair or face.
I want you to do that little Julian do it.
And that's it. Now let's do this.
Morning.
Hey, good morning to you.
How are you this
Just
morning?
perfectly on point. The timing is great. Top of the hour. We're live in Victoria, Texas.
We are.
Amazing.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Wade and Carter weather today brought to you by Wimp Generators, the great sponsor of Wimp Services. Used to be Wimp Electrical, Wimp Services. They come back. They always come home. Wimp Generators. We're going to have more information
Like
for
a
you
chicken.
as time goes on. We'll have more information for you as Wimp is really expanding into the solar realm, and they've got now
Self-sufficient power.
Yeah, Generac's got batteries that couple with the solar panels.
Yeah.
It's very exciting stuff for those of you that just can't be without power. I think it's fantastic and saves you money along the way. So,
We appreciate your attendance. Please drive safely.
and thank you. Have a nice
Thank you. Have a
weekend.
good weekend, everybody.
62 degrees in Victoria, heading to a high today of 89 under
We appreciate your
What?
attendance. Please drive safely.
under
There's the replay.
perfectly sunny skies as we have technical glitch. We don't have a producer here.
I turned that volume off. You saw me do
I
that
saw
once,
you
and it
do
came
that.
back
Wasn't your
up.
fault.
No.
It's the station is possessed.
Bobby Leister checking in this morning. Lisa Poole, David Rice, Sheriff Lauterbach, Scott Snow, Marvin Mickish, C.W. Bean, Judge Posey, Chris Jansen, Patrick Strauss, Cody Sugar, H.R. Mallory, Robert Bird, good morning. Daniel Bird, no relation. Christina Wise, Larry Leahy.
It just goes on and on.
There's my beautiful wife, Cheryl, Teresa Garza. Let's see who else is in.
I visited with one of our sponsors yesterday. He was telling me, hey, I've got some ideas to
BJ Nelson.
help y'all market, and I'm very excited about it. In fact, I scheduled a tentative meeting for you.
Okay.
And the comment was made, it seems like the same people check in every day. And while I agree with that check-in list used to be 4 or 5 people that were here every day. And now it's 40 or 50 people that are pretty consistent that you just see on Facebook. And I told Ashley coming in this morning, I stopped at a Speedy Stop to grab a bottle of water. And as I was checking out, a little guy next to me happened to be a Hispanic fella, happened to have a hoodie on, was going to work in a construction truck. He said, "You got to get to the station, don't you?" I said, "Yes, sir, I do." And he said, "We listen every day." That's awesome. That's awesome. And thank you for listening. So it's not just our Facebook group. There's a crew of working men that are listening to see what's going on in Victoria, and we appreciate that.
Johnny Houghton checking in from Manitoba. Billy Arms, good morning.
We're going to be
Andrew Jr., Christina Wise.
joined in a little while by Victoria City Council member Jeff Bachnight. He's going to come in and provide some wisdom. We think we're going to give him the opportunity. What does it ask? We'll just give him enough rope and see what he does with it.
Yeah.
He'll either do rope tricks or hang himself. We'll see what happens.
Literally, he says another positive change caused by the coronavirus: no more middle seats on airplanes.
I read that they're going to, some airlines, they said the big 3. Who is that? United, Southwest.
Delta, and American.
Wow.
That's it, right?
Well, they said they're going to require masks for a while, but they're coming.
Are they going to give them out with the peanuts?
I don't know. That's what I said. You know what I said about the bakery.
Get a free mask when you buy that travel neck pillow that you never see anybody use anywhere else but on an airplane.
I wonder if you'll start seeing.
You don't see anybody on a
masks
bus
for
use
sale.
those things.
Will you see masks for sale in the airports now?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want. A mask that's been hanging in an airport, recirculating air, and hundreds of thousands of people browsing through the
They
display
touch it.
every day.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't want that one.
I don't want it. What you do is you reach and you get the one in the back.
You know where you go into? You go into the Johnston and Murphy shop in the airport because nobody else goes into that one and buy their mask. It's going to cost you $29.99, but at least nobody will have touched it.
Why is it that, like, if I'm going to buy a newspaper, like at the airport, I always raise up the first one and buy the second one? That's a quirk. I think because I'm always afraid somebody's getting like stolen the sports page out of the other one.
I don't know why that is.
Do you do it?
Everybody, that goes back to the old newspaper boxes. And I don't know if people used to steal the coupons out of them back in the day, but I remember my dad, that was just what he did when he'd buy one on the street corner and put his dime in at one time and then his quarter and open the door and he'd grab one from the middle of the stack.
I am your brother.
You know, he'd grab them from the middle of the stack.
Remember when your dad used to travel to Texas back in the day? He's thrilled that we're together doing the show.
Yeah. No, not a chance.
Mom, you got some explaining to do.
Oh, man.
My brother, Wally?
Is you? Kelly Fromm is in. Kevin Myers, good morning.
Kevin made a good point on something the other day on Facebook. I just want to point that out. I don't know what it was, but I remember reading it and saying, that Kevin's sharp.
Yeah. It's such a good point, it didn't stick.
Brad Pitt.
Rob Pupey checking in.
Oh, that was
David
Rob
Glass.
Pitt. That was Brad
Yeah.
Pitt. I couldn't read it from here.
Ryan Sweezy. Who else? There's Don Nicole.
Matt McConaughey. Good morning, Matt. All right.
There's my brother
right.
Corky checking in. Andrew Young, council member Andrew Young.
Oh, Andrew called to see what Jeff's going to say. That's what's going on there.
Brother Corey says, ain't going to be no free mask. They'll add it to your ticket price.
Right. That's true. The sterilization surcharge. They'll spray you with a mist when you walk in of some indistinct.
You might just have hit on something. There's how the government will help airlines recoup the money that they've lost with the travel ban.
Right.
There's going to be an airplane sanitization
Surcharge.
Yep,
Yeah.
you watch it.
That's coming.
You're only going to be allowed one mask on a plane unless you're changing planes, and then you'll be allowed two. Any more than that, they're going to charge you extra for them.
It's like at a buffet where every time you go back, you have to get a new plate. Oh, you're changing legs, new mask.
Yeah.
$50.
Hey, we're up to 38 YouTube subscribers. Bobby Leister keeping a close eye on that number for us.
We're up one.
He's our official YouTube subscriber count.
We got
Clicker.
one yesterday.
Don't be afraid, folks.
We need you to go over there and click on YouTube and then just subscribe for free. We need you to subscribe.
Chris Conrad's checking in over there.
Shirt's a little bright for you too.
That is a bright shirt for you.
Go Astros.
So, let's see who else is in this morning while we work down the list. Trey Molina, Mike Bloschke,
Don't get Trey.
Diane Tippett, Philip Barone,
Like if
BJ
Trey,
Nelson.
if Trey sends you a note, he just sounds it funky. I like that.
I do too. BJ Nelson says she's heard no more buffets. They'll be a thing of the past.
So what's going to
I
happen?
don't know. You got a sneeze guard and a mask on. You're in good shape at a buffet.
I used to love to go to Golden Corral and just watch the kids pick their nose and stick their finger in the chocolate fountain and eat it. And just, I mean, you know,
Nothing like a chocolate covered
nothing
booger.
like a crunchy boogie. Yeah. Bognack's out there wondering what he's doing on his show. He's sitting out there going, my dad's a doctor, for God's sake. Why am I here with these idiots?
I'm a successful businessman and a council member.
My sister's smarter than me. Why am I here with these fools? Unbelievable. You know, though, I'll tell you, I'm going to say something about Jeff, since it's turned into a celebrity roast. I'll tell you that Coach Smith does not throw out accolades lightly. And he said that Balknight, not only could Balknight play, that Balknight was tenacious, which I could see him being a real pest on the basketball court. But he said Balknight would take a charge just to make you mad. Half court, boom, Balknight's on the ground.
You know, every team needs one of those, and the best teams seem to have one. Every team needs a guy like that. The best teams have a guy like that. The guy that everybody hates to play against but wants on their team. Balknight reminds me of that guy.
Hey, he's the Bill Lambier of City Council.
I wouldn't go that far.
No, Dennis Rodman's the guy that comes to mind. That watching that Jordan special, and Rodman had played for the Pistons during the glory days, and then he had gone to San Antonio, which I forgot.
Yeah.
And he just wore out his welcome there because he was a loon, you know, and Popovich thought he was going to change him. And it might have been Popovich then, but anyway,
That was Pop.
they thought they were going to change him. And when he became available, Jordan and Pippen decided, this is our guy. I mean, they knew he could play. And he immediately paid dividends. What's Christina Wise saying?
This is Mayor Adler. I'm assuming that's in
That's
Austin.
in Austin, yeah.
The city council wants restaurants to take name and info of patrons that enter for tracking with COVID. So they, I guess, can do contact tracing.
Man, oh man.
I think I know how Councilmember Balknight feels about that. As soon as we mentioned that, he started laughing.
It's
Yeah.
terrible.
I mean, Texas is reopening, yet there seem to be some governments that were so power hungry and thrived on that ability to tell people what to do.
Like that Whitmer lady.
Maybe more so than they already do. But boy, I mean, that's a case right there. They're having a hard time letting go of some of that power they assumed, aren't they?
I think that it is interesting how I could rationalize some of these things in the interest of the common good, and yet they are fundamentally unconstitutional. And if you're going to have a country based on a constitution, you kind of need to live by the Constitution. It's just crazy that he said, well, these are extraordinary times. I mean, we need to know who went into that restaurant.
They weren't extraordinary times back when we seceded and fought the British to gain our independence.
Was it not extraordinary when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor?
I knew you were going there.
Joe
You got to find a new one.
I need a new. Yeah, I forget the same 8 people listen every day and heard all my bull. It's over. Yeah.
You're telling the same jokes over and over again.
Can you imagine if you were
At least you haven't forgotten that you told that joke.
Well,
You're not a Joe Biden yet.
What if you were on like a real stringent, like where you have like a peer counselor Weight Watchers program and they rat you out that you went to Veracruz? I saw nothing.
Exactly.
Can you imagine? They come to your house, give me your hand. They cane you. They cane you across your hands for going out for Mexican food.
Or like they were doing over in one of the Asian countries for people that weren't social distancing, they were just stopping you behind the police car and whipping down your pants and spanking you.
Grown man got his hands on the car.
Might have been India. I think it was in India.
Bare butt, and he's like a whack. Hit him with, what was it? It was a rod of some
It was
type.
a rod with, I think, bottle caps nailed to it.
Nice. Nice.
Got to leave a little bit of a mark, and you're in real trouble if you didn't get your tetanus shot.
I tell you, who'll come help you won't leave any marks. That's Allen's Wrecker Service, 578-6300. Allen will pick your car up, get it where it needs to be with no damage to your vehicle. Don't take that for granted, folks. Other people go, oh, sorry, Canadian Towing Company's dragging your vehicle down the curb, not Allen's Wrecker Service. The VCS companies, Rocket Oilfield Services, and the only locally unauthorized AT&T retailer are all part of the Hartman Empire, but they're not on the Hartman's hearts today. Today is Ryan Getting Well Day. So prayers and thoughts out to the Hartman family as they're doing some work with Ryan in Houston.
Yeah, it's no
today.
secret. It's been all over Facebook.
Stem cell deal.
Stem cell transplant, and Ryan's dad, J.R. Hartman, is the donor. So our prayers to them this morning as they go through that procedure, and hopefully that gets Ryan on the path to recovery and full health. And he beats the cancer that he's facing. So thoughts and prayers with the Hartmans, and been thinking about you a lot, JR, and Ryan as well lately. So.
Great family, great, strong, faithful family, and really a tribute to our program. We appreciate them. The SCT Building Systems, Clayton and Casey Help, 564-8864. That's Clayton's cell number. They're small enough for you to reach, and they're big enough to do anything you need done, from a she shed to a barn dominium to a full-blown warehouse. They can do it all. They specialize in red iron and Portland metal buildings, but they also do concrete forms, bricks and sticks, anything you need done. SCT is your go-to for that. And then Chesney Furniture Company.
You're going to build a barn dominium, you're going to need to furnish it.
100 years, 70 in the same building in downtown Victoria. Think about that.
116 West Juan Lynn.
The corner of Juan Lynn and Santa Rosa, according to Ash. Anyway.
No, Bridge in Santa Rosa.
Right, they're at Juan Lynn and Bridge, and it's a beautiful showroom. It's really cool to go in there. They've got a 50% off sale going in honor of their anniversary, and we welcome you to get by there today.
Before we bring Councilmember Bachnight in, a couple of things that
you're bringing him in now.
No, I said before we bring him.
I swear you said before I bring him in.
A couple of things I do want to touch on, and we'll get more details on this over the weekend, because one of these is sort of developing. One of these has been sort of playing out this week, and it's maybe getting to a point. But former National Security Advisor Mike Flynn was, as turns out,
Lieutenant General Flynn.
Turns out, railroaded. FBI set him up. This thing is getting, I mean, we're almost going J. Edgar Hoover-ish with the FBI with these guys.
I think you're exactly right. It's corruption at its highest.
Yeah, at its worst, at its finest, however you want to phrase that. It's getting crazy. He fired his attorneys along the way and hired a new one because he got an inkling that his attorneys weren't exactly doing things in his interest.
Right.
Is the way I read it. Hired a new attorney. His new attorney then filed a bunch of motions because she saw some things that weren't right, including finding out that they may have coerced him into his guilty plea. So she quickly filed a reversal of that plea and withdrew it. But there's a whole bunch of stuff here, and it's probably too much to try to unpack this morning.
The problem with that
is this thing getting...
You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. The guy's career has been sabotaged by the federal government. I mean, here's a guy that rises to the rank of a 2-star general. He's on the National Security Advisor. I mean, he's on the committees. He's in all the briefings. He's the guy. And now it's like he's dismissed in shame.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And then Creepy Joe Biden's going to go on the Morning Joe show this morning at some point. I don't know when to apparently address the Tara Reid allegation, and not the Tara Reid from, movies of the early 2000s.
There will be so many sound bites from Creepy Joe unscripted. It's going to be amazing to watch.
Is there a sound bite more telling when Nancy Pelosi basically says, well, Joe is Joe, when asked about it? She got mad. She admonished a reporter who was trying to question her about it. She didn't like this. But it's interesting, the double standard now that it's one of their own.
Nobody says Donald's Donald.
Yeah, no, who tends to have a history of this sort of thing.
The interesting thing, and I don't know if it's a distinction that may matter to you or not, but something worth noting is the things that Trump was accused of doing, whether he did them or not, he did them as a private citizen. Biden is on the hook as a United States senator for
for grabbing a woman and inserting his fingers into her vagina. That's what he did. That's what she's accused of. That's the graphic nature of the accusation. Far more detailed than anything that Christine Blasey Ford brought forth against Supreme Justice Kavanaugh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman, for stepping in.
Yeah.
It's just like being in a council meeting, right? You have to fill in the gaps. I understand.
And then let's not forget, Secret Service have said for years, Joe Biden used to walk around in front of them naked, female Secret Service members, skinny dip in front of them.
Joe.
I mean,
What if
Forgetting this.
What if Joe really just said, "Okay, I'm not crazy. I got to tell y'all some stories." I mean, I think. Remember that time me and Clinton were in Puerto Rico? I mean, it'd be unbelievable.
Oh wait, no, that's what we called Epstein's Island, Puerto Rico. So
Right.
nobody knew we were going to Epstein's Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, let's say
Yeah.
you
So
go
anyway.
ahead. You introduce.
Well, no, I was those are a couple of things to
I'm
unpack
funning
this
you.
weekend.
I'm
but
funning you.
fun.
Funning you. And we're going to get you get covered. I'm going to give you a little airtime because you look so good this morning. Seriously.
And we got to. What'd you say? You'd rather
I'd
not?
rather not. I really need it.
You know,
Don't we
proud of
all?
you.
And barbers and salons still can't open
I
legally.
visited with Ben Zeller yesterday, and you know Ben well, and so you can picture what I'm going to tell you. Is we were giving him a hard time. I said, Ben, people have been telling me that you're looking sharp. Well, thank you. And I said, but people have asked me, you know, where's Ben getting his haircut? He goes, I have not had a haircut. He got real animated, very serious. He goes, I trim a little off the top and I touch up my sideburns myself. He said,
Floaty.
right.
The Flowbee.
The Flowbee. Welcome.
How
to
has
the
that thing not made a comeback
right
in this?
I don't think they make it
I don't think so either, but boy, somebody should have.
ahead of its time.
Way ahead of its time.
We could use it now.
The original pandemic barber.
Right? It's back.
No hair anywhere. That thing was awesome. It was like the fly mode. You remember that thing?
No.
The hovercraft
there
lawnmower
was.
from the 80s?
That thing, can you see yourself on it? You just kind of burn the yard.
The good thing about that thing, you never had that bald spot from
Right.
clipping it too close.
Unbelievable.
Oh,
We digress.
we do.
Tell us what's going on, sir. How are you?
Well, I had two things this morning that I wanted to talk to y'all about. And there's, I don't come in too often. I think I've been in once before. I must not have been very good because y'all didn't have to come back.
Ratings were terrible.
But one was just to kind of lay out from council member side about the lift fund proposal that was in front of us. And then, you know, there was a town hall yesterday afternoon with John Zacek, Sarah Vela, Ricky De La Garza, and Bill Blanchard.
Right.
One thing that I took notes during it because this thing really gets me fired up.
Right. Right.
I didn't enjoy the letter to the editor, and because frankly, none of those people that signed it picked up the phone and called me.
Right.
And so I took it upon myself to call some of them and say, hey, what's the beef with this? You know, why'd you get behind this? Let me understand where you're coming from. Well, when it was sold to those 4 people I spoke to, Bill never told them the whole proposal. He just said it was, you know, city council is not supporting, you know, small businesses in this COVID-19. Didn't go on to explain the entire thing, that it turned into this Dream Maker fund. So I did. I called Mr. Blanchard about it, and I said, Bill, you know, what I'm hearing is that you didn't tell him the whole story before you got him signed up for this letter. It really caused a stir. I said, you know, I think on council, my sense of it when we had the discussion was, well, if we could decouple that, maybe we'd have a better chance of getting some COVID-19 loan or something like that funded, you know, and started. But Lift Fund would not let that happen. They said it had to be coupled together. As Mr. Blanchard told me, that was just a great opportunity to push that forward on the heels of an emergency. And to me, that's not what the whole program should have been about. And, you know, frankly, I laid out a whole bunch of financial reasons why it didn't make sense. And y'all done a great job of explaining it too. Y'all actually, it looks like y'all did y'all's homework and read the proposal.
Yes, sir.
For once.
Everybody that voted against it said they wanted to do something. It just wasn't this, you know, wasn't this proposal that was laid out the way it was. And I actually have some ideas. Y'all laid some ideas out yesterday. I have one that's kind of similar. Did a public-private partnership that I'll be taking to the work session on Tuesday. You know, go up to $750,000. City matches 2 for 1. So we could have $250,000 from the private funds and $500,000 from the city. But caveats are, you need to put in all your documentation, your 940s, your 941s, your monthly sales tax filings, which to me is very important because I want to make sure these people that are actually going to get zero interest loans have paid their taxes and are actually participating in sales tax.
Well, and I know that was a bone of contention with you, was the fact that the parameters with the lift fund, and there were several bones of contention with you, but this was one, was you really questioned were these businesses legit? Were they running things under the table? Were they cash front businesses? Could they be, and when I read that, I'm like, I read between the lines a little bit. I'm going, well, could this be a front for laundering money or something? I mean, the door becomes, that's where it could go. When the city gets involved in something like that, wow, that's a huge can of worms that this city doesn't need. But you could potentially have businesses not doing what they're supposed to do with the tax base, and then they're benefiting from taxpayer dollars.
Right.
And that's what I want to, in my proposal, I want to try and make sure that we address that and everybody understands that this is going to legitimate businesses that can verify their economic impact, because that's, this is coming through the sales tax in a roundabout way. So it is sales tax money. But also on that town hall, another thing is, Bill went on there and he said he was there as president of the Victoria Sales Tax Development Corporation. Well, this lift fund proposal was never debated in that forum. I sit on that as well. It was not debated in that forum because it was not the place to debate it, because Sales Tax Development Corporation cannot do this. A Type B Sales Tax Development Corporation cannot do this type of program. So it has to be done by the city. So it wasn't even debated. So to get up in a town hall and say, I'm here to represent Sales Tax Corporation, no, you're not.
A little disingenuous.
You don't speak for the Sales Tax Corporation.
Yeah, I think
I had a
that
problem with that yesterday.
I think that everything I've heard is that Mr. Blanchard's a great guy, and that and in this case he means well, but I don't think that his program was ready for the type of scrutiny that it's getting, to where you say, oh, by the way, it's kind of like on this town hall. And I just want to clarify, I have the utmost respect for Ricky De La Garza stepping into what was obviously a setup situation. You've got Mr. Blanchard, who's absolutely for the Lift Fund program. You've got John Zacek, whose name was on the letter imploring people to support the Lift Fund program. You've got Sarah Vela, who's hopeful to be a recipient of the Lift Fund program, and then Ricky D. And I just want to clarify that. Did you receive a phone call inviting you to be on that panel?
The Advocate's not called me for one thing on this entire story.
And I know of at least one other council member who said, it was told to Ricky, oh yeah, you're the guy. Nobody else wants to do it. But in reality, they didn't call anybody else. It was the whole deal.
And it didn't turn into a gang fight or a gang up on Ricky D. It didn't. It was very civil and
well, he's great and thoughtful
that way. It didn't turn into one of those sessions. In reading through all the documentation, and you're on the sales tax court, the one issue that to me that was going to put taxpayers on the hook down the road was the lack of a strong commitment in those documents that the sales tax corporation would commit to the $750 being borrowed out of that money that was left over from roads into parks, that the $750 would be replaced dollar for dollar. It was worded, I think, if I remember correctly, the wording was, we'll consider a future project.
Well,
and that bothered me, because if that doesn't mean we're going to get back to the $750 if the way I'm reading it.
Okay, you're right. There's not a firm resolution passed of support or anything like that, because at the meeting for sales tax, it was not on the agenda.
Okay.
So you couldn't just put it on there, let's do a resolution. So there was a consensus there that said, okay, if city council chooses to go forward with this, we would support some type of parks project to offset those funds that they would spend. That was it. There was no vote taken. It's just a consensus, and let the meeting minutes reflect that.
Okay.
I have to tell you that I have talked to the mayor, And I know that he's just beside himself with excitement that you're going to have a work session because he's a big work session guy. He can't wait for this. So it's good that y'all
We had
are
another one, an earlier one, December maybe, we had one out at the Officers Club. And we had one scheduled for March. And of course, we didn't get to hold that one.
right.
But it'll be good.
I think it will
I hope
be.
we can speak freely without people going around and asking other people to come in and comment on the discussion.
Yeah.
Well,
Matt Oker says, because this is something that's been brought up in discussions yesterday, and somebody said, what about taking that 750 and fixing that section of airline that's become a mess? That way, a lot of people would pause. Is that something that'd be done? And then Matt Oker says, what about putting that money towards the streets?
Well, that section of airline specifically, I believe it's on this agenda to approve the design.
Okay.
We already moved, I think, Vine Street out and moved that in because it was worse. So it's already been
Okay.
planned, Matt, to take care of that section.
you know that section.
Matt didn't specifically ask about airline, but I two people I talked to yesterday specifically mentioned airline when this discussion came up or this topic came
We're
up.
actually on top of that.
So
If you're going west on Mockingbird and you cross Main and you take a left right there by A&A Construction, you're going down Vine behind Pinto Bean. I mean, dude, you gotta like the hubs.
It's our speeding control device.
Right, it is. Yeah,
it's that test section. They're trying to figure out ways to control speed without.
That's
Yeah,
what we were gonna fix, and we went with airline instead.
I'm sure
On
the
traffic.
I was going to say I'm sure the traffic
On the
counts.
traffic and
airline.
just there's been so many underground breaks on that. The undergrounds have to be replaced.
right.
And that's what's causing the problems on that road.
How excited are you about the HEB project over off Rio Grande? We haven't talked about that.
I'm not super excited about it. I
The
wish,
number keeps getting bigger, doesn't it?
man, why didn't TxDOT just build a median like they're going to anyway, but make it 4 foot tall where you can't get across it?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Would that not be an easier
It would
solution?
be.
There's a
Well-
whole bunch of different solutions.
Well, and what bothers me is it's
He always says, just walk down to the corner.
Walk down
There's
to
a
the corner.
light.
Just walk down.
walk
There's
down
no
the corner.
light.
But the issue we're dealing with here is you've got a major thoroughfare of that's your in and out of this city. You're going to delay traffic even more for the sake of 20 people that walk across that street there every day.
Yeah.
I don't know of another city that just decides to stop a flow of traffic for people to walk across it. It seems like it's a weird solution
And for what it
to a
costs-
problem that I think is a squeaky wheel wanting an issue.
for what it costs to do, you could make a little zone there. If you live in this area, we will pay for your favor to pick up your HEB on curbside and bring it over here.
You get an Instacart membership.
Right, you're in.
Yeah.
You just call, they bring your
Probably
groceries.
cheaper.
It would be cheaper than building that deal.
You need to do a break before I get another topic.
Wow,
Yeah.
he's
He's on
helpful.
top of our show.
Hey, today's a great day to go to
He's now our
Veracruz.
producer.
If you can hang around anytime you want. If you don't get to Veracruz today, you can't go till Monday. That's just a fact. But
25% occupancy. Is
They're not gonna- they're not
You know
gonna-
what?
they're
Do
still
what
gonna
they've been doing for the last month and a half.
Yeah.
Call in your order, pick up your enchilada casserole or anything else off the menu, take it home, enjoy it.
absolutely, it's perfect.
It really is.
And it's
And the
done-
food
they've
just
done-
as good.
They've done very well. Then today, Razor IT Solutions, reach out, see what your analytics are doing, see why your website doesn't communicate with Facebook and why you can't interface those things, and help your accounting software. If you're a small business and you need to be able to collect money over the phone or collect money over the web, you reach out and Razor IT Solutions can help you with that. Basically, if it involves making computers communicate, Razor's your guy. JP Hull, he will take care of you. The Adsnover dealership since 1926.
They were an essential
Totally
service. They didn't go anywhere, but they've seen
No.
a lot of traffic to AdsonOffer.com. They've been very good about updating their website daily with inventory, and that's not going to change.
I went by the other day and they are wearing their masks, and they're also offering right now on any new or pre-owned purchase a $20 gift card to go across the street to Veracruz.
Nice.
They're just saying, hey, we just want to do our part to help Victoria's small business. So hats off to Tommy Taylor. and that group over there. BJ Nelson, White Trash Services, reach out to them at 550-1826. You need a roll-off dumpster. You need county trash service. We're going to lean on Councilmember Blocknight to try to get White Trash to become the trash provider for the city. We're going to have a workshop for that, maybe some coercion, see what it takes, a little
We
grant.
have a proposal coming in.
A proposal, it's coming, right?
Yep, it's been out for bid.
But reach out right now. I'll tell you what, that's a small business. That's another Victoria business, keeping it local, working hard. 550-1826. And then if your computer doesn't talk to you or your printer, call Dwayne Proctor at GDP Techs, 550-4744. So we're back. We're very fortunate. I say this all the time. Victoria as a whole is very, very blessed to have representation that doesn't hide in the shadows. A guy like Jeff said, hey, I'm in the middle of something. It's not necessarily the most popular place to be, because on the surface, it's like, well, why wouldn't the city council help small business? Why do they hate small business? They hate us.
I am small business.
Right. And you are a small business.
So let me get to the elephant in the room. Is this the purview of city council to put money towards a program like this?
In the overall scheme, no. We got some bigger issues that we're going to be facing as a city in our budget. Right, we're projected, I verified this yesterday, $2 million shortfall in sales tax revenue.
Percentage wise, what's that about? Do we know?
Usually we get about 17 million is what we got last year.
So-
About 17, so we're gonna be at 15.
Over 10%.
And then,
And then the
that,
following year, we're gonna be down another million. So we're gonna be down to 14. So that's a $3 million shortfall from where we were in the 2019 budget. So
yeah.
When
you know,
everything else
if
is going
everything
up.
was going along smooth, could it be a program to look at? Yeah, certainly.
He just had Bogdan just had a heart attack. It's no big deal. Don't think he doesn't take this serious. The man just had an MI right here on the show.
I do have one other item that I have on the agenda this next week. And our city attorney doesn't agree with me. And it has to do with, this was pretty wonky too, so it might put everybody to sleep.
I
real
like
quick.
the word wonky.
Paul Ryan gave it.
I like it.
Chapter 418 of the Texas State Code is the one that gives powers during emergency declarations to the governor and to county judges and mayors. Well, you get to reading that thing. That thing had nothing to do with pandemic. No one ever thought about pandemic on how it operated or anything. But a governor can call an emergency declaration, and it can last for 30 days. And only he can renew it for another 30 days. Or the way it's kind of written, it's kind of left open. It could be forever.
Right.
And the only way that the governor's emergency declaration can be rescinded is he either rescinds it or the legislature rescinds it. Legislature can't meet unless he calls a special session. So,
And they're not scheduled to meet till February.
right.
Gives him a lot of power.
So obviously, I don't think that was the intent of that code, that he does it for 30 days. He goes another, then renews it forever.
Right.
It doesn't work. And so in that same section, it has it about cities and counties. And it's a 7-day period before the local governing body has to renew it or continue it. And the way I read it, it's every 7 days you have to do it. And that's what we did during Hurricane Harvey. Well, in this case, it's been more than 7 days. We voted on it on March 17th. And the amount of power that goes to Zeller and McCoy, they can go up to you and, hey, I need to commandeer your vehicle and take your car during an emergency declaration. It's that much power. And I don't
It's like being a game warden.
yeah. And I don't think the intent.
It's like every movie plot. I need your car. We need a police chase.
Yes, they put that on. They always grab the Porsche. They take that.
Yeah, gotta get there fast.
Right.
But I don't think the intent of that law, and I think, was to indefinitely have an emergency declaration. And so I'm trying to get it amended next week. And hopefully I make a good enough argument that let's sit down every 7 days and hear the argument of why it needs to be extended.
So here you have a city council member trying to limit authority, which I think is a good thing. That's less government. That's something we kind of harp on around here. I like the idea, though. It shouldn't be that hard if it's an emergency. It shouldn't be that difficult for y'all to get together every 7 days and say. So does Thomas Goosh, he interprets it the other
He
way?
interprets it the other way, and that's
But y'all still have the right
That's
to
law.
limit it, right?
Yeah.
Y'all still have the right to limit
Yes.
it yourselves if you want to.
yeah. I mean, he said in our last meeting when I brought it up is, the city council can make any law it wants, and it's legal until someone challenges it and gets struck down. That's, in my opinion, that's not how government should be functioning.
Right. I don't
Like,
picture anybody.
Although that's almost how government has become
Yes.
to function.
You got to figure if you play it out, if you guys make that determination and enact an ordinance or put a law in place, you've got to figure that nobody's ever going to come in and go, I want you to extend the emergency period.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would
Just
be
come
great.
in, let us sit down and discuss it. Okay, do we still need it?
Right.
There's not, when I listened Wednesday to the judge and the mayor, they're like, well, we don't really have any emergency orders anymore because the governor's taking everything. And they did at that point say we might need to revisit the emergency declaration.
Right.
Well, I tend to agree. If you don't have any orders in place during the emergency declaration, then why do you have an emergency declaration? If we have another flare up of COVID, mayor and judge can easily say, we're having another declaration. And then bring it back to council and commissioners again.
I see why you're the rebel because you make sense. You're making sense, and there's no place for that.
I try not to bring logic into it. It just,
It just bubbles
messes
forth.
things up.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Well, but I did appreciate that during the council meeting a couple of weeks back with the LIFT fund, because I mean, Brent and I had talked about it a little bit and ran some numbers. Your numbers went far more in depth, but I mean, they made sense. And I think that's what, I mean, obviously it swayed Ricky De La Garza. He even said that yesterday in that town hall. I was ready to vote for it until the information you brought, the questions you raised, I hadn't really thought about. But he said when that was brought forth by Councilmember Bognight, I couldn't vote for this proposal the way it was.
And I, you heard me say this yesterday, but my dad's always said, if something comes along and you've got to do it right now, or you're going to lose it, he goes, 9 times out of 10, you're better off losing it.
Yeah.
Question. Yeah, I learned that lesson.
John Zoczek was right when he did the town hall. There is a gap there. It's just trying to make sure we have parameters. If we're going to do taxpayer funds, that the taxpayer is protected and gets their investment back.
And that's been a concern with both Brent and I. The LIFT fund at a 4% default rate. I think yesterday John Zoczek said 1% is about the bank industry. So already you're 4 times worse than banks. And I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to service a niche that isn't serviceable traditionally. But
Because they're going to go broke. That's why.
Yeah, that's the reality of it.
Plus, when they told me that they got to keep the interest,
Well,
that's not
that
even their principal.
yeah, that bothered me a little
Right.
bit too. Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't
But
understand the idea of.
You're going to give me,
Y'all cranked up again.
you're going to give me money, and I'm going to then make interest on loaning it out, and you're getting nothing, and you have all the risk.
In the simplest form, city council was asked to vote to approve taking $750,000 tax dollars, give them to a business from outside of our community, let them immediately take $104,000, and they're going to then loan the other 680 or 6 something back
636.
back to the community. And somehow that's a good deal for us. And the only answer I ever got from anybody was, we've got to do something. Okay. But, it's like making a tourniquet out of spaghetti. It ain't going to work.
Yeah. No.
So
I do have a question here. What was your take on Abbott suspending 418.108? What did that actually do?
108.
I think that's what it is. Yeah, 418.108.
Oker's the only guy I know that he's got the book. Look at the book. Look at the
I
book.
almost brought 418 in.
Oh,
Well, you look that up. We'll take our final
we're
break.
here at the intellectual hour with Jeff and Matt.
That's good, doctor. Good
Uncle Much
conversation.
Barbecue.
That's the grown-up part of the show.
Yeah, those of you that think like us, just go ahead, go watch TV. Uncle Much Barbecue, all weekend, they're back open 7 days a week. reach out to Uncle Mutt's, get to-go food. You're going to have brisket, ribs, sausage, chicken, turkey,
Ribs,
and then there's some ribs.
ribs.
I like ribs. They got,
all the sides.
wait, no, that was text. That was text. I like ribs. Anyway, Mongo, reach out to Uncle Mutt's. The food is phenomenal. The family is even better. And they're just great folks and great supporters of our community. You'll recall all the Warriors weekend stuff. They've done all that stuff for years. Katina has been, and Jonathan continues that tradition. We encourage you to support them with your food dollars.
And as Texas reopens and life gets back to normal, weddings, birthdays, quinceañeras, all sorts of parties are going to be planned, and you're going to want somebody to make it look the best it can be. So call Cheryl at Gray Barn Design.
Not to mention Cheryl's got the hot number for Brother Gary Moses, because no event really matters.
No.
You can't get a flyby from Brother Gary.
Or
So
a
there-
drive-by or whatever,
A
brother.
drive-by.
However Brother Gary can do it.
Jeff, we talked
Yeah.
yesterday that Gary actually had his own landing craft and that he emceed D-Day.
The number for Gray Barn Design, 361-920-6803. Got to finish the break.
920-6803.
There we go.
Great Barn Design. Call Cheryl. That's her cell. Direct. Ash isn't home now. Now's a good time to call her.
So 108, I just looked it up. That's the title Declaration of Local Disaster. I'd have to go back and look at the governor's last order. If they suspended that, then we don't have an emergency declaration in place.
There you go.
That would be my take on it. But I haven't read enough.
Well, and that,
to
yeah, Matt said a few weeks ago, Abbott suspended that section. His office apparently was unable to explain the mechanics of it. So he was wondering what your take is. So that means we don't have a declaration in Victoria
That's
City
what it would
County.
be. There is no emergency, and any order issued then by a county judge or a mayor would be null and void.
Interesting.
It's Anarchy Day.
And that's what I'm saying. Are you really supposed to have that much power?
Coincidentally, it is May Day.
It's your thing. Do what you want to do. Get out. We're going to go. It's party day.
Yeah, the legislature, besides having some fantastic budget session this year in the state, it also has, a redistricting. And now they get to look at 418 and how to handle a pandemic in the future.
So there you have it. You heard it.
Nothing else on your plate.
You heard it live on Wade and Carter. Councilmember Bachnight said, "No more emergency. Do what you want."
I do not have that authority.
I just.
Council members under these emergencies are really shut out of everything.
Our video just ended on us somehow.
What did?
Our video just ended
My
on us.
face
But,
must have snuck in there.
so I don't know what happened there. But it just ended.
You know what? It does make you wonder, honestly. When stuff like that happens, did the government just pull the plug on our deal there? Is Michael Flynn involved?
You didn't charge the battery, did you?
No, it's good. It's full. It's good to
So
go.
yeah, that's old stuff. So yeah, it's interesting. It shut down about 46 minutes in today for whatever reason, but
Well,
that's okay. We're still on Magic 95.9 and we're still at magic95victoria.com.
and
So
we're still on YouTube. I don't know if you knew we did that. We've gone
Yes,
to
I tried to
YouTube.
get on it, and I just got the round circle kept going.
no,
Yeah, no,
that's your internet. There's another bone of contention that a lot of people have had.
Yes, that's
Can the city do something with providing more options? Because, and it seems that most of the complaints are coming from parents whose kids are trying to get schoolwork done and the internet just isn't reliable, not fast enough, not being there to service their needs.
Well, I know that, Victoria Electric Co-op came to us and asked for a franchise agreement and granted it. They're studying to make sure that it's sensible for them to do it.
Yeah, because they're
not
rolling
gonna do it
out,
for free.
yeah, and they're rolling out internet in the county in various parts and hitting areas that have been underserved first.
Yes. And then I think AT&T's taking another look at us. They have some internet in the city, but it's real spotty. I don't think that they have distribution enough to hit a lot. But I think they're looking at it to see if it's a market that would be viable for them as well. And it's tough. I mean,
Yeah.
67,000 residents, and you take the businesses plus the residents. It's a tough market to hit and probably make money at.
Yeah, that's probably the big thing. And I know, and people always look to other cities that have 3 or 4 options, but that's the issue here. We're a city of 67,000. Is that a big enough piece of the pie for more than one provider to come in, invest in what they would need to for the infrastructure side and make some money. I don't know that it is. If you look at other cities this size, really, you usually have one provider.
Couldn't we take $750,000 and invest that in some internet infrastructure?
Well, there's some cities that actually do provide that as a utility. And you know, a couple of years ago, we talked about putting blanket Wi-Fi downtown. But at the same time, is it worth the investment at this point when 5G is getting ready to come out? It's supposed to at some time. This is going to be so fast that are you going to really need to hook up to the internet in your home?
Do either of you, I've never asked you this, Ash, do either of you have any concerns about this 5G deal? I'm hearing, and maybe it's just all the freaky people
Only
that
if Huawei supplies it.
that's what I'm wondering about. They say that birds are dying. They basically say that you've got to have a whole bunch of towers in order to make 5G work, and that there's all these radiation waves in the air and yada, yada, yada.
I don't know. LTE doesn't even work all over my house. I walk into my
Right.
laundry room and I drop calls.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're going to be able to get 5G to even work.
Right. I
And where
wonder.
can you buy a phone that even carries 5G?
I don't.
Well, if you don't have 5G service in Victoria, a 5G phone isn't going to be any
they're
good,
not
right?
really even on the market.
I don't think
The
so.
only locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer.
Could answer the question.
Right. They'll help you out.
On that suddenly, so the same thing goes with some fast food restaurants. They could come to Victoria and frankly, they could be profitable. It costs them the same amount to build the store here as it would in Houston, Sugar Land. They're going to have 3 times the traffic in Sugar Land than they have
Yeah.
here.
Outside of land acquisition, but the cost of construction is relatively the same.
And so, does it make sense to spend your dollars here or can you maximize your profit by being elsewhere?
Yeah,
Spend
no,
those
it's,
same
yeah,
dollars. And that's what we fight against and try to tell them, yeah, but we're still good. You're going to make money and we need you.
it's not as much money.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's very much, it's, so we got to figure out ways to grow Victoria and we'll see more. Or there's a great opportunity for somebody local to step up and fill some of those voids, right? I mean,
Between now and then,
aside from the internet piece.
we will continue to blame local government.
Anytime we'll take it.
I knew you would.
And that's why we get paid so much.
Right. Well, you've been at this long enough that you got a sense of humor about it. And at the same time, I've always felt that you kind of had your hand on the pulse of the community about doing what makes sense. And I know you're fiscally responsible, spelled T-I-G-H-T. The man's tight.
No, I just treat it as if it was my business. So if I look at a deal that's coming in for economic development, I'm like, okay, we're going to cut you some type of tax break. It's usually what they want, 380 agreement or sales tax rebate. Do we get our money back through property taxes or something like that in 5 to 7 year net present value payoff?
When was the last time a deal came in through the VEDC?
It was probably the power plants.
Okay. Yeah. And by the way, those seem like that worked out.
It did.
I'm curious, and if I go too far, rein me in, but I'm curious to see, and I don't know what the bylaws are. I know that the VEDC has a board and there's only certain ways they can be funded. And there's a lot of nuances to the deal. To me, it seems that Jesus Garza has positioned himself in such a way by bringing in 2 assistant city managers, both of whom have a big resume that involves economic development. Could we possibly see, if not a folding up, but a merging of? I mean, shouldn't the city be in the business of developing the city? Doesn't that cut through some red tape and get rid of some steps?
Well, part of the way that the Sales Tax Development Corporation was set up does not allow for that. It's written that, and I think this is when it was formed, the people that had to get behind it to support it said, we don't want to grow government. So you can't hire any staff, Sales Tax Development Corporation. You have to find some other way to do it. VEDC. So that's
Right.
why VEDC gets paid by Sales Tax Development Corporation to act as its agent in selling and promoting economic development for Victoria.
We don't want to grow government, but technically we grew government.
Yeah, we actually put another layer of inefficiency in between the council and the road. Is there a way to amend that?
We've been studying that, trying to figure out how we can do it. Do we need to go back to the voters and say, hey, here's how we want to restructure the deal? And see if we can't, get agreement from everybody that maybe it makes more sense to do it this way. or do it some other way.
What about some other things that people have talked about in this, small businesses are struggling? Or can we get rid of some of the red tape? Can we get rid of the sidewalk to nowhere, that if you've got empty lots on either side of you and nobody walking to your business, you've got to put a sidewalk along XYZ street? I mean, are there things that the city could do that would help small businesses address some of these things that would lower their upfront cost maybe to get started, lower the taxes, and give tax relief to everybody in this time of need? I mean, I know that hurts what the city wants to do, but everybody's going to be tightening their purse strings at home. Shouldn't the city have to do the same thing?
Well, yes, and I mean, we can talk about the sidewalk part, right? I always encourage anybody that calls me about that, go to the variance process. If it's a logical argument, city council is going to take a hard look at it. And we did one for at Red River and Navarro. There's that mechanic shop there. They had an awning that blew down during Hurricane Harvey, and it wasn't permitted right the first time. And so they went back with the sturdier structures, be nice, so the guys can work in the shade.
Right.
And they city was requiring a sidewalk down Red River towards Main Street, that once you got past their property, the city had no right of way. So there's never going to be a sidewalk past their place.
Right.
And we encouraged the guy, bring the city council, there's no reason for that sidewalk to be there, and granted him a variance. And then there was another one, it's called Navarro Central, which is where Peter Piper's Pizza is, and they added on, Harbor Freight did.
Harbor Freight.
Added on 5,000 square feet and put it on the pad where I believe that was Kmart there. And they had a lawn and garden center. Well, the city required sidewalks down Crestwood and down Navarro in front of the whole rest of it. And so they were limited on Crestwood because it's going to be rebuilt anyway.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And so I took it to the council and we changed it. So if you do an addition that's less than 25% of your total square footage, that sidewalk provision doesn't apply, to make it more beneficial for people to say, hey, I want to expand.
Right.
But I don't want to
not double my size. Yeah.
Unnecessary cost.
At some point, though, if you get to a point where we're granting more variances, then is it time to to look at some of these things?
Yeah. And, any idea, council is always willing to look at. Is there something we can do to help a small business that we haven't thought of yet, but someone else has an idea? Certainly, call one of us.
Right.
J Dub says he knows a right-of-way guy.
Yeah,
he's just a right-of-way guy.
Calgary, Canada, where it's about 8 degrees today. I want to encourage you guys. I don't know. I like Thomas Goosh, and I think that the role of city attorney is vital. I think it's important that you guys have somebody that can advise you of things. I do want to give you that attaboy that sometimes, and I listen to the council meetings, and Thomas is like, well, y'all can do that, but you can do anything you want, but if you do that, you're going to get sued. Thomas, quit telling us we're going to get sued.
Stop putting that bullet in their gun.
If you're not getting sued, you're probably not doing enough.
I really like Thomas.
We
challenge each other on, how's this read? What's that read? And he takes the time to listen to me.
Yeah, he's
and
good.
Talk through everything, and I really appreciate that.
If nothing else,
and it's all right to disagree.
When is it?
Yes, it's in my world.
When he reads all the things and declares an effective date, it's like having Casey Kasem up there too. The way he reads it like an FM DJ. I love hearing him read the things.
I think they do a speed talking class in law school or something.
Yeah. And they do a double speed class, and I know that. Well, hey, we've just about reached the top of the hour, and Ralph's gotten real grumpy about his show time, so we're going to have to get out of here. But really want to thank Councilmember Jeff Bachnight for being here and a tireless and selfless volunteer for the city of Victoria. Appreciate you being here, and
thank y'all for having me.
Your business is doing well. You're surviving through this.
We're doing it. Our service is down a little bit, as you can imagine. People didn't want to have service personnel, even though we have a protocol set up and everything. They didn't want people coming in unnecessarily if they didn't have to, for just general maintenance, the spring maintenance stuff. If someone air conditioner's down, they're still calling.
Oh, yeah. I've got a lot of principles until it gets 84 degrees, and I'm calling Bachnight. Yeah, I know how that works.
I'll take the COVID risk at 84. I'll not.
I'll take the risk.
85.
No,
Deal with it.
once it gets over 80, virus is dead anyway. Isn't that what they told us? Yeah, no kidding. Thank you for being here, folks. Have a great weekend. Be safe on the roads. Don't forget Allen's Wrecker Service if you need them. Ladies, put it in your phone, 578-6300. We're going to take a hike, and y'all have a great day. Bye.
Bye, folks.